Hey guys, today I want to go over something that I feel like I've kind of missed the boat a little bit with my own training as well as the training of my athletes. Okay, and that is the foam rolling kind of technique that we're using at different parts of our day. Okay, the first one being before we train. So usually when somebody comes in, they grab the foam roller, they start foam rolling, and they kind of hit every region of the body. Okay, that's what we call a gross foam rolling session, meaning we hit pretty much everything. The reason that that isn't as efficient as another way that we're about to talk about is because that kind of decreases the sympathetic drive in the system, which is your fight and flight response, and it kind of moves you more towards a parasympathetic tone, which is your rest and digest. Now that's a great thing with foam rolling that it can do that, is kind of shift in between those two different sympathetic and parasympathetic phases. But when we want to train, we want to be a little bit amped up. We don't want to be too kind of detoned and into that parasympathetic, okay? That is a great way to attack foam rolling later on in the day. But when we train, what we want to do is we want to be specific with our foam rolling, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about. So when you come in or when you're about to start your training session, you don't want to do the entire body, but you want to pick the regions that are the most troublesome areas for you, okay? Typically, that's going to be the hip flexor and quad complex, IT band, adductor, and the lats. Okay, so we have 4 regions that we're going to hit before we start our training. Now again, obviously this can be a little bit different between individuals. So if somebody has a cranky shoulder or some hip kind of complex stuff going on in the back region, we can do that as well before we start training. But for the most part, hip flexors, adductor, quad, and IT band, those are going to be the big kind of positions of the lower body, and then the lats in the upper body. Okay, so before you train, hip flexor, quad complex, first one you're going to hit. Okay, so there, working all the way through from that hip bone down to the top of the knee. You can cut this in half, work just the top region at first, then do the bottom half. Okay, but just for our purposes right now, I'm gonna show you that whole roll. And you probably go a little bit slower than I'm going right now. Again, just trying to show you that, okay? IT band here, guys, so the lateral side, okay? Getting that whole region from the hip right down to about the outside top of the knee. Okay, and going slower than I am right now, you can cut that in half as well. The adductor, so that groin region, full in front, 90 degrees. I put the edge of the foam roller right into the adductor tissue. And rolling right through, both sides there. And then the last one would be that upper body, the lat. So foam roller right in the armpit, hands extended, using those feet to kind of push and propel you along that roller. And not working too low, just to about mid rib cage. We don't want to go off the bottom of the rib cage there. And that would be it before your training session. So again, it would take a little bit longer than I just did because you're going a little bit slower on each of those regions and you're doing both sides, of course. But that's about as much as we want before we get up and we start to mobilize and get things activated for our session. Okay, later on in the day, let's say at night or something like that, that's when you can hit the entire body in a global fashion, and that helps again increase that parasympathetic tone, which is your rest and digest,